This is the very latest airbrush from Badger. This is the Renegade Krome. This is a modified version of the original Renegade. It's got some improvements. Badger have listened to original users of the Renegade and felt that a few modifications could make it even better. So we'll have a look in the box and I'll talk you through what's been done. So this is the actual box you get with this. It's a very nice aluminium case with reinforced steel corners. It's got a nice locking mechanism at the front. So let's open it up and see what we've got. Now this particular kit here, the Renegade Krome airbrush, most Badger airbrushes now come with this protective rubber cap on it. This has actually got a metal lid on it this time rather than the plastic one. We've got a spare needle and nozzle. The needle and nozzle fitted at the moment is the 0.21mm and the spare one is the 0.33. And we've also got a different spray regulator for this combination. Also in here we've got an adapter that goes from Badger hose fitting to the 8th BSP, which is a pretty standard fitting. So let's take the airbrush out and have a better look at it. As you can see, the cup is really nice and open. You can see the needle at the bottom of it. This is my favourite shape of cup actually. It's a lovely shape, very easy to clean. What we've got here as well, you'll notice the rubber finger rest as well, which is off the Sotar. You can keep this on or take it off if you want. There's simply a grub screw in the back here that you can undo with the jeweler's screwdriver. So you could take that off if you want, but I find it does make the airbrush feel really nice. Got the open handle as well, so that you can flush any dried paint through, and we've also got the needle limiter. Now the one on the Renegade previously was quite loose actually, but what they've done now is they've put an O-ring in here, and it's nice and smooth, and it won't move out of position unless you want it to. So it's also got a collar on here, which I believe is from the Sotar airbrush, and it's got graduations on it, so you can get precise adjustments and you can move it back and forth, and so you know exactly where you are. So that feels really nice as well. We've at the front here we've got the spray regulator with the two protective horns on it. You can get an optional spray regulator at the front there with nothing on it at all, which gives you a completely open needle, which is the one I prefer actually. So that is available. They've actually supplied that with the other needle in the kit as well, so that's good. So on the face of it, it looks a fantastic brush. It really does. Now you'll also notice the different colour of the trigger and the back lever. Now what Badger have done to make this a really smooth operating area here, they've added something called glide coat, which is I believe to be a metal treatment on the back lever and the trigger, and it's made it really smooth. There's no grittiness or anything to it at all. So that's one of the main improvements they've done on this. To be honest, with the original Renegade, I didn't find it had a problem anyway. The first thing I do when I get an airbrush, I strip it down straight from the box, and I put some of the Badger's needle juice lube all over the airbrush, inside all the moving parts, and it makes the airbrush feel great anyway. So, but it is an improvement anyway, I understand. So that's really good. So what we'll do is we'll strip this down and we'll put it back together again, and we'll go through the main components inside. So as usual, I'm just going to take the handle off, pull it straight out, undo the needle chuck nut. Always press down on the trigger just to keep everything out of the way of the needle. Pull the needle straight out. This is the fine needle, which is a 0.21mm. It's extremely fine at the end. You've got to be really careful when you put this back in again. Okay, well, I'll just take the chuck off. This is the adjuster. This is how you adjust the tension on the trigger spring. So I'm just going to take that out. as you see there, we've got the spring in the back. It's a very open coiled spring really. It's quite short. Now this is done up when you put this back together again. This is done up into the body of the airbrush. So just unscrew that. What I've done is, before I started this video, I've actually stripped it down before and just lubed everything up. It just makes it easier to strip down. Okay, so that's the spring guide. That's the needle guide there. You can see the lube on my fingers actually. Okay, so I'm just going to pull the trigger out. Trigger comes straight out as usual. It's a standard, apart from the glide coat, it's a standard Badger trigger. And there we've got the back lever, which is loose. That's also covered in the glide coat, as I said before. So I'll just wipe my hands. Okay, so moving around to the front, I'm going to take off the spray regulator with the two horns on it, and there you can see the very small nozzle. Now what I've done with this, I put a blob of needle juice on the nozzle just to keep it inside the body, otherwise it can drop out. Okay, so there you go, that's the nozzle out. No threads on it, just sits in the mating surface in the front of the airbrush there. So that's as far as you need to go. Just make sure you don't drop that nozzle anywhere, because you probably won't be able to find it again. That's really as far as you need to go, to be honest, generally speaking. I could take that off, but I mean, there's no point really. So there you go, that's all stripped down. Right, okay, let's start building this back up together again now. So we'll start off at the front, and we'll just insert the nozzle. As I said before, what I've done is I've put a little bit of Badger lube into the body just to hold the nozzle in place. It can drop out, so, and then we're just going to put the retainer over the top. Just make sure you get the threads lined up, and then that's it. Everything's just finger tight. They're nicely knurled, so there's plenty of grip for your fingers. So we'll just nip that up, and then we're going to put the spray regulator with the two horns on the front. We'll just put that over the top and screw that in position. Nip it up, and there you go. That's the front built up. The nozzle's protected, and the needle will as well when we get that inserted. So that's the front finished, and then what we'll do now is we'll move around to the back of the airbrush. Okay, as I said before, the back lever on the trigger is separate. It's not pinned to the needle guide, so we need to put that in first, and just making sure it's the right way round. The back of the trigger actually rides in this U shape here, so you can't go wrong with it, to be honest. So you just drop it in and just twist it round, and it'll just sit there. Okay, so that's in now, and then what we'll do is we'll just drop the trigger in. You just make sure that it's sitting correctly on top of the air valve. You can't go wrong with that either. You just press it down, you'll feel the spring tension on there. Now, to prevent the rocker lever from moving, just push the trigger back, and we've got it captured there. And then what we'll start doing is we'll screw this in place. Put a fine thread on it. As you can see, that's dropped forward already, you see, so we're just going to make sure As we do that, you can even hold your airbrush up like that. There's no way that's going to move forward now. So we're just doing that all the way up. You just keep going until it stops. Okay, now that's done up now. You don't need to do any tighter, but you just need to do it up. Okay, so we've got, now I'm going to place the spring on there. It just sits in there, and then I'm also going to put the spring adjuster in now. So we'll just push it forward and start screwing it in. Now, depending on how much tension you want on the spring, it's up to you, but I mean I like it quite light, so I'm just going to do it about halfway. Right, so that's in position. You can feel it's okay because you can move the trigger all the way back. You've got nothing trapped or anything. Now what we'll do is we'll just put the needle chuck back on. Don't do it up too tight, otherwise you'll get some resistance when you want to insert the needle, so just back it off a little bit. Now I always press the trigger down just to make sure there's nothing in the way of the needle when you push it in, because this is an extremely fine needle and you don't want it to touch anything or come into contact with anything. So we're just going to line it up and we're just going to push it in position, and you'll just feel it go into the needle seal in the body, and you'll feel it then just eventually just touch against the back of the nozzle, and then you're in position there. Just nip that up and you're away to go. Just check that just to make sure that all the travel's free, and that's great. And then all we've got to do is put the handle back on. And there you go. That's all back together again. You can adjust that as you wish, the needle limiter, and that's all built back up. It's as easy as that. Okay, so there you have it, the Renegade Krome airbrush from the Badger Airbrush Company. This is the latest airbrush. I really hope it does well because it deserves to. It's a superb brush. They've made quite a few modifications. As I said, the original Renegade, to be honest, they didn't have any problems with it, but they've listened to people that wanted some modifications, and it's I'm sure it's worthwhile. It's a really nice looking airbrush. It's really well finished, and it'll just perform exactly the same as the original Renegades as far as spraying capabilities, which is superb. It really is a great detail gun anyway. So if you're looking for a really nice detail gun, then I can highly recommend this, to be honest.